Welcome to Pathway to 17 Summit 2023. You are in the MSME Women in Small Business session under gender equality theme. Now, day one is focusing on gender equality, but our discussions today, we're going to steer it into women's financial inclusion. My name is Tariro Nyimo, and my current role at Digital Frontiers is the head of stakeholder engagement and fundraising. I'm joined today by my friends and colleagues, and I'm going to give them a few minutes to introduce themselves. And if you are a woman or a female founder, please indicate as such. So I'll start with you, Ethel.
Thank you so much, Tariro, and hello, everyone who has joined us today. My name is Dr. Ethel Mupambwa. I'm a founder and CEO of one of the fastest growing digital microfinance institutions in Zimbabwe called MoneyMart Finance. I'm so passionate about women and especially those in business, with the statistics, especially in Zimbabwe, that are telling us that 60% of SMEs, the informal sector, are contributing to our GDP. And of this 60% contributing to GDP, 53% are women. Imagine. The statistics can never tell us a lie. And these numbers should be taken seriously. The reason why I'm walking this path, and I'm happy to join you today. And let's discuss more about the gender and women in business. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ethel. And then I'll move on to Elizabeth Friend. Please introduce yourself.
All right. Hello, everyone. It's great to be here. I'm looking forward to today's conversation. So I'm Elizabeth Friend. I am the Managing Director of the Small Scale Sustainable Infrastructure Development Fund, or S3IDF, where I work a lot with early stage, high impact potential founders and their brilliant business models. So I focus a lot on overcoming access to finance, looking at a lot of other critical components around value-added services, taking a very market system approach. I've also been fortunate in my career to work with a lot of micro entrepreneurs, and again, looking at how to overcome a lot of the critical concerns and barriers that that women who are operating micro and small businesses have, and what it takes to really get them to the next level. So thank you for allowing me to join, and I look forward to all that we're going to be talking about over the next 45 minutes.
Thank you, Elizabeth. And we'll move to Chilufya Mlenga. Chilufya, please introduce yourself.
Thank you so much, Tariro. Thank you so much, everyone who's joining us. My full names are Chilufya Theresa Mlenga. I am a network engineer by profession, but also I am a digital rights activist and gender equality advocate. I am a founder and CEO of the ICT for Her Club. It's a non-profit organization that helps to combat gender disparities for women and girls in the ICT sector by providing resources and knowledge to gain more skills. Thank you so much, Tariro.
Thank you, Chilufya. And, I know we're having problems with your video there, so I hope you'll be comfortable, and I hope our audience will still engage with you properly here on the MSME Women in Small Business session. Now to kickstart. Okay, so there's a lot of data. I know Dr. Ethel has already mentioned data in Zimbabwe, but I'm going to throw some more data at you. It says that women make up 58% of Africa's self-employed population. That's the informal economy, and contribute to 13% of the continent's GDP. 13%. Now that's significant. And according to the World Economic Forum, they say that the female economy is considered the world's largest emerging market, Now, coming down to sub-Saharan Africa, and I know most of the people here are from sub-Saharan Africa. Sub-Saharan Africa in particular has the highest rate of women involved in entrepreneurial activity. That's according to the World Economic Forum at 26%. And according to MasterCard Index of Women Entrepreneurs 2021, Botswana, South Africa, and Ghana are among the countries with the highest percentage of women entrepreneurs globally. Now, let's talk about South Africa, the country that I live in. 35.5% of women face unemployment in comparison to 32.6% for men. So this is how they face barriers getting into the labor market. I'm going to start with you, Chilufya, so you can give us a Zambian context. Describe the barriers to wage employment. Some of us are wage employment. We have 2 female founders on this panel list. Describe some of the barriers to wage employment and business growth that make women steer into informal economy. I'll listen to you, Chilufya.
Thank you so much for the query. And I don't really want to touch mainly on the Zambian perspective, just generally from the research that has been done. The challenges that are there in terms of formal or even in informal employment, the wage gap that's there between, women and men. And this is due to, opportunities that are offered for men and women as they're applying for the job, and also in terms of the qualifications that the men and women tend to have, even just some of the industries that women tend to go to, and industries that men tend to pursue. For women, it's you're going to be a teacher, you're limited to being a nurse, you're limited to certain roles and responsibilities that are women friendly. For men, you find them, they're civil engineers, they're doctor, they are going for these opportunities, and in the sense that's what creates the wage gap between 2 different genders. And this is due to limited access to education that women tend to face, or even opportunities to further their higher education. For most women, especially if you're coming in the rural areas, you find that that they end up in 7th grade or even 9th grade, and they are sent off to marriages, or they are told to help out in terms of providing for the household by going to the farm, by doing small businesses that help to feed their families. If they're into marriage, you have to start contributing to feed towards your kids. But for men, they are encouraged to further their educations. They are not limited to the challenges that they may face. Hence, when it comes to opportunities that are presented out there, you find that our male counterparts or our male colleagues are more qualified compared to the female colleagues. And as we all know how the industry is, if you are more qualified, you get paid more. That's one of the challenges that we tend to face in terms of the paying gap, the gender gap. Women have limited access to quality education, which tends to affect their skills and qualifications as they go outward in terms of looking for better opportunities, looking for chances to get a higher pay. And also we do face some discriminatory social norms, societal attitudes, and traditional gender roles. Like I said, for women, you are bending towards, okay, you are preparing for marriage, you cannot go any further, and it becomes like a greater opportunity. You even go for teaching or for nursing, because your role as a woman is to stay at home, take care of your family, take care take care of your husband, in the sense that we do not have the confidence to pursue further opportunities, to grow ourselves. When you reach a certain stage, you even compete, because as you have an opportunity to be in a workspace, there are certain chances that may come. Maybe you want to upgrade to be a manager. There is a certain career change that may help your progress in the future. But then, due to social norms and traditional norms that we tend to face, we are not really encouraged or even mentored towards those directions, because as a woman, your main role is to stay at home, to concentrate on your kids. Hence, there's a form of limited empowerment or even encouragement to say, okay, you can do this, you can help to dismantle all these societal norms, attitudes, and myths, and just focus on your career growth. This is one of the challenges that discourages women into pursuing further, or even just diving into certain opportunities that may come. And you find that most people that are even usually pushed forward are male counterparts, and then they get to be advantaged because they're encouraged, because they don't face certain challenges that we women face. And there's this prevailing belief in some society that women's mainly primary role is to be in the household, and that's limiting their opportunities for more employment. And also for women, we usually have limited access to finance that may help us pursue further education. And also, in terms of starting our own businesses, most of the time you hear stories from people that, okay, I financed my education through entrepreneurship, I studied this and that. When you are limited, when you don't have access to certain opportunities that may help, finance your education. And also, we do have a certain limitation on banks or even educational institutions when you have like certain loans that you can that provide for you and then help you pay your educations. They are usually limited when it comes to women, and mostly male counterparts tend to be favored in those ends. So when you look at all these challenges that we face in terms of the barriers to quality education, into limited access to finance, these are just some of the challenges that we maintain to face when it comes to when you have a formal employment, when it comes to opportunities. There's that gender gap because you don't have the necessary qualifications or even the opportunities for you to further your education, to gain the necessary skills and knowledge, so that we can help combat the wage gap in terms of employment and how much women tend to get compared to men.
Thank you, Chilufya. I think you had a lot to say and touched so many things, including social norms, wage gaps, and even the types of jobs, knowing that you are a woman in STEM. And in our plenary, we were talking about jobs for the future and how girls and women are encouraged to pursue such careers. Now, back to the countries that I talked about, South Africa, Ghana, and Botswana. It seems that in these countries, maybe the social norms are not as much of a barrier. Maybe the government and the policies, they create an enabling environment for them to thrive in these entrepreneurial activities. But I'm just going to ask Ethel to comment on the barriers, or what led you to be a woman founder, woman entrepreneur.
Thank you so much, Tariro, for that. And Chilufya, you really articulated it. I could feel it as at one point in time, I walked the journey. And for me, Tari, there were so many barriers as a woman. I think the biggest barrier that I want to comment about is lack of mentorship. As women, there's that need for mentorship. I was reading at one time the statistics about the mentorship. It says 70 mentees that look like them. So the first fact that most mentees, most people in leadership are men, and they don't look like me. I'm already excluded on that 71%. I was just saying, even 80% of mentees, they look for people who have taken the same career path and who understand them better as a person. And I was imagining, with most leadership roles we heard from Chilufya being men, who am I going to choose as a mentor in such a scenario? So one of the most barriers is, I think, about mentorship, and we don't have people to look up to. We don't have people to hold our hands as women, to give us that confidence to say, yes, you can do it. Sometimes I have everything that it takes as a woman to be in that position, to be in that workplace, to be a founder. But I don't have that encouragement to tell me, yes, you can do it. Like my male counterpart, with the same, almost similar qualities, because he's a man, he's told, yeah, men, come on, men can do this. But for me, I don't have one. So I think that's one of the most barriers that I would mention as a person that I've found. The day that I a mentor, the day that I found someone who said, Ethel, you can do it. You have got this in you. You're passionate about this. Yes, I'm seeing a great person in you. It changed my life altogether. Even if my hand was acting as a barrier to the things that I was looking forward to do as a person and as a woman in business.
Thank you, Ethel. And I think it's so important. It's so important in terms of just mentorship and having someone who looks and talks and probably comes from where you come from, showing you that you can do it and giving you that direction that, you can thrive as a woman in business. You can thrive as a woman in leadership. So I'm going to still come back to you, Ethel, and get into access to finance now and lending. So tell us, is there big business? Is there big opportunities in small lending? You know that you talked about MoneyMart. Tell us the big opportunity in small lending.
There's so big opportunity, especially in lending, in financing small businesses, more so of women, Tari. We are seeing even the stories that we hear, the developed countries that we admire, they've been built up by small businesses. They've built up by entrepreneurs who started from scratch and walked their journeys to where they are today, for them to be called the big businesses that we hear about today. Look at how even Facebook started. It was those with young people. And I am saying, even for more entrepreneurs who are building the Africa that we want to see today, tomorrow, and taking the stage as Africa on the world map. So these small businesses and SMEs, they need financing, Tari. They need that capital. They need that injection in their ideas for them to materialize. And the opportunity that's there is that, Africans, we are resilient and we just don't give up easily. We know this. More so women. For a woman, I was actually laughing at myself saying, oh, I thank God for technology. Having had a baby recently, I should be out 3 months taking care of the baby. But I'm here doing what I ought to do. So imagine for a woman, I'm taking care of a baby, I'm multitasking, I can be on this platform sharing with the world with what we know. So you can see how the opportunities are even more vast for women. And for women, when a woman has set her heart into something, there's, from my credit, than that we ought to with men. With women, when they take credit, they want to be honest with you. They want to use the money with the intent that they've taken the money for. We know men experiment a lot. It's a no-brainer. I have guys in the house. We know this. So it's a no-brainer. So for women, they are less risky. We know, and when you teach them something, they hold on to it dearly. And more so, they don't keep it to themselves. Women, we share. This is where we get the gossip nature that we have as women. We share ideas. Our hearts, they tend to ask, am I doing it right? For us, most women, we are not shy to be able to ask when I'm seeing the path is getting wrong. We don't have that ego in us to give a shout when things are getting wrong or when I'm out of the task. So I'm saying there's so much big opportunity. And like the statistics that you have told us, Tari, 58% being women. There's need to finance these women's businesses. And what I'm also advocating for out there is that let's also have finances for these women to experiment. Most of the things that are letting us down as women is that, yes, we are getting the finances, but they are so stringent that we don't have that room to experiment. It's not patient capital. So there's need for patient capital for us to experiment our ideas, for us to be able to have those prototypes and then roll it over into a big business thereafter. So there's that need for patient capital, and we need to be trusted as women. And I am saying there is so much big opportunity for financing and credits, especially to women, especially this day and age, where there are a lot of issues around alternative credit scoring, where we have been seeing women being sidelined because we don't have collateral, or those immovables are in the name of our husbands and the like. The world has changed. We've got big opportunity. We have got the technology with us where we can assess and score, especially women, with different aspects that are within us. Our mobile money transactions can tell a story for us. Our diaspora remittances receiving in Africa, they can tell the story on behalf of us. Why can't that be considered? And the way we spend our savings, they're telling a story on us, more so now that we are able to save digitally. They tell a story for us. It's no longer the case of us proving with just a bank statement or proving with an immovable property that we are worthy that loan. No, the case has changed. The finance institutions can use alternative credit scoring for us as women to be able to access these finances and see the opportunity that's there, and us contributing immensely to the economic activities of our different nations.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Ethel, and congratulations on your new baby. It's so great that we get to be with you on this panel, and the baby is probably sleeping next to you. I'm going to move on to Elizabeth. First of all, I want you to comment on access to finance, on the financing gap that Ethel was talking about. And then we move on to growth opportunities. She did speak about patient income. Is that what you called it? Patient income.
Patient capital.
Patient capital. So, okay. So, Elizabeth, please comment on the financing gap, and then we move on to opportunities for patient capital.
Absolutely. When you look at some of the estimates that are out there, and you look at the amount of demand that there is for capital for all sorts of MSMEs, and then the supply, it's almost incredible to think about what could happen if we could really take notable steps to actually close that gap. Numbers vary, but I do see some recent numbers from the IFC that really try to target and try to understand what this looks like from a women-led or women-owned small and medium-size perspective. And those estimates seem to range anywhere from $1.4 to $1.7 trillion. But a lot of times these estimates are purely just estimates. And then if we're actually thinking about the role that informal micro entrepreneurs come in, it can even be higher potentially. So this is pretty significant and could be pretty daunting if we were just looking at this in isolation. But Ethel, as you were commenting on, we are so fortunate that at this point in time, there are so many different digital innovations that are becoming, widespread, that are allowing us to overcome a lot of both the demand side barriers as well as the supply side barriers. And I think it's really important for us when we're thinking about the perspectives and what the disconnects are. We do need to look at it from the vantage point of the women themselves. There are a lot of considerations that can make it a little bit harder or a little less attractive for women to actually go after formal finance. And I do think that as as different practitioners and players in the space, we do need to do a better job in really understanding what it's going to take to adopt more gender-aware approaches, so that we're incorporating what it is that women-led MSMEs are really looking, what they really need, the kind of structures that are going to fit with their goals, their objectives, their lifestyles, the other demands on their time, that kind of thing. And also when it comes from the supply side, they're to actually make this opportunity work. There are ways to think about this depending on the type of financing that is needed. If we're looking strictly at credit, I'm actually so excited to see what's happening in each stage of the credit process. So, for example, if we're looking at the origination stage, a lot of women entrepreneurs, especially maybe those who have less formal education, it can be kind of daunting to sort of join a new network, a new platform, when they don't necessarily have that background or experience. But there are now a lot of these sort of hybrid physical and digital or frigital approaches, where a lot of fintechs, digital banks, even some traditional banks or microfinance institutions are sort of bridging this divide, so that women who might not already have the kind of digital skills or familiarity are getting a lot of the training and comfort that is enabling to them to then engage with the actual credit process. And Ethel, you're so right. When it comes to the assessment, I love what's happening right now when it comes to alternative data-based credit scoring. It's amazing that what can be gleaned from just the data that's generated by a smartphone. There's device data, so much information about kind of usage that can translate into kind of behavioral patterns that a lot of these algorithms, assuming they're done in a way that is not going to be perpetuating a lot of the kind of systemic biases that we're seeing, can do a world of good, because no longer, it doesn't matter if someone doesn't have a formal credit score, or it doesn't matter if someone doesn't have collateral. It basically can point to deeper connections and deeper ideas and characteristics and traits about who you are as an individual entrepreneur, and then really right size the loan products for what it is that you're trying to achieve. And even too with disbursement, I love a lot of that's happening here. Of course, there's mobile wallets, digital wallets. There's also still interesting things being done around physical cash in, cash out points. And I think that when we're looking at this transition, we can't expect for things to change overnight. So I think some of the best approaches are really meeting people where they are and appreciating that we need to make sure that we are essentially providing stepping stones along the way, so that everything is becoming, yes, more efficient. There's, everything builds on the next. And even too, I will say some of the efficiencies that can happen around additional value-added services. A lot of times we've only been talking about financing in isolation, but really, if you are a small business owner, you have a lot going on, right? I mean, you're going to also need some assistance with perhaps bookkeeping, or maybe you need some assistance with marketing. Or even inventory management. There are any number of things that can be twinned or paired with financing that will allow so many women MSMEs to really get a leg up and to really capture a lot of value and to be able to grow. And I do think that even a lot of these newer processes around how even collections can be handled in this overall process can do a lot of good, where instead of just requiring a set payment at a certain date, queuing them, for example, to these little micro deductions. So every time there is actual revenue that you get coming in, there'll be a small little bit taken out that goes toward the repayment of that loan that was taken, for example. And I'm so glad, Ethel, too, you brought up patient capital, because I'm a firm believer in this. I do this a lot through my regular work, especially for early stage entrepreneurs. The idea that you can just sort of have this one size fits all, you're ready for the commercial big leagues is crazy. There is definitely a very important role for there to be blended finance, draws on softer sources, and also for the more investment oriented money, to really make sure that it is taking into consideration the stage of growth, the actual sector of operation, and really making sure that those who are providing that patient capital really are working to provide that mentoring, that capacity building, that advice, so that it really becomes a partnership. And I think that is a partnership idea, and looking at where there's that win-win dynamic by providing finance and the training and so much of the kind of value-added services is really how we're going to really drive forward the digital credit space, as well as the forms of more sort of traditional finance, whether that is, for example, equity or hybrid arrangements.
Thank you so much. And I think we've heard a lot from our panelists. I think it's good for us to check in on the audience if they have any question. And I see a question here from Tadase, and this is a mouthful, so I'm going to try and go through it. A study conducted in Ethiopia shows education level, previous entrepreneurial experience, access to business training, access to finance, access to business information, government support, land ownership, and tax are significant in explaining women entrepreneurs' performance in one hand. On the other side, however, age, marital status, access to market, access to physical infrastructure are found to be insignificant variables in determining women's entrepreneurial performance. Do you agree with this?
I totally agree to the question that has been raised, though it's very broad. I'm going to touch very much on age, and just generally speaking on how, as many youths, just turning away from the gender, as many youth, we have often limited to certain opportunities that we're exposed to because of a young age. Ethel gave an example of how she wanted to experiment on her ideas as a 22-year-old, and this is just one of the biggest challenges that I face myself in maintaining my businesses, and also just being invited into the space as as a youngster, as a youth. You face these barriers. You find the odd gents, and mostly it's men. First of all, you are a woman, then you're a young lady, and then you also striving and fighting to start your own businesses. When they were their age, they were not even thinking about this. But with the evolution of technology and the type of education that's broad, the type of skills that we are receiving as youngsters right now, we tend to think outside the box. But also, when it comes to accessing financial help, or even the mentorship, or financial opportunities, you find that mostly people who are older, 45 going above, tend to be advantaged. Because why? They feel like they are, there's more security in investing with someone older. They have the knowledge, they have the skill, they have experience, and I do get that. But also, we need to have room for for youngsters to make mistakes. How are we going to have experience if we're not failing? Because we learn mostly by failing. So if there's an opportunity for as a youngster, as a young innovative talent, if you are given an opportunity, it may not be necessarily starting your own, but also just inputting in something that's already there, it really goes a long way. And thank you so much for raising all these things that we don't really look about, but they are really important. And also just touching on the networks that are there when it comes to women in terms of them being entrepreneurs. We often have limited access to informal networks. These are the networks where you connect to people that are already been in business, people that connect you to more business, people that tend to expose you to more markets. But you look at the gap that's there for female entrepreneurs. These are the people, like Elizabeth said, you mingle with your own, and you're able to understand each other, you're able to connect directly to each other. And when it comes to being able to meet with these people, in terms of discussion, you're more open, and these networks, they tend to help with information exchange, partnerships and mentorship opportunities. Because like Ethel said, women tend to talk. So if I'm there, I'm expressing myself, saying, okay, I started these are my ideas, but they didn't go well. If you have someone who's done it before, who has the experience, who went to probably you're trying to register your company and he didn't go through, they're able to connect you to someone has done it before, and how you can tend to fasten the process. But also looking at the the representation that's out there for women in the business industry. Like I touched, the gap is very huge, and you find that the industry is more, dominated, and it's other people. As a youngster, you want to break into that barrier. Obviously, you may tend to face some, backlash. Women who are also, trying to, combat the barrier that's already there for, female entrepreneurs, and then you want to break into, that market as a youngster. But basically, there, you face a lot of backlash and all that. But that's when we need to create an atmosphere of representation for all women in all, age groups. When existing businesses, lack diversity, women entrepreneur might feel a little bit isolated or unwelcome, making it difficult for them to actively, participate in, conversation, open discussions that are out there that may help, improve their business, grow their business, or even have, opportunities for more funding. So a lack of representation in these networks usually discourages women from even, joining or staying engaged. As you know, that when you go there, you find a lot of men, out there, and then you're trying to break that barrier. There's, some men with odd traditional norms who may feel like, oh, women are not, do not belong, and you tend to feel a little bit of out of place. But also touching on certain, lack of financial resources that also, contributes. If you're someone who's starting up and then you want to dine with with the big youngsters, you're going to face a lot of challenges, because mostly even the level of the conversation that you will be conversating with, you have someone who has been in business for 20 years, and then you say, okay, me, I've been in business for 2 years. The conversation will be on different levels. That's where mentorship comes in. If you are someone who's been in business for 5 years and someone is starting up, they come to you, they say, okay, how do I get this done? How do I go about this? We as women, we need to mentor the people that are coming behind us. We mentor them, we, show them direction. We give them all the resources that they necessarily need. Mentorship is all about skill, how competent you are in your skills and how you can do something practically. So as you mentor them, someone, you are guiding them, you're showing the way, hence they are able to learn and acquire the knowledge and the skills as quickly as they can.
Well, thank you, Chilufya. And mentorship has come out as something that really is needed in MSME, women in small business, amongst access to capital, amongst patient capital, and many sources of funds. I think we have run out of time. Andile, is that correct? I am out of time, so I just want to thank the panelists again, Ethel, Elizabeth, and Chilufya. Thank you for joining us. And stay here at Pathway to 17 Summit Day 1. I hope you have fun. Thank you very much.